lives and breathes motorsport, and the fans have lots to look forward to today. Moto3 and Moto2 look to be crackers, as does MotoGP if the sprint race is anything to go by. For now, it's warm-up time. Yeah, good morning from here at the Barcelona-Catalunya circuit, just to the north of the capital city. About 20 minutes up the motorway, maybe on the train if you're coming on foot. A hive of activity around the circuit as we get ready to go today. A little bit flatter, the light, you can see a few clouds in the air, a bit hazy perhaps. I wonder if that will change the conditions, because there was a definite change from morning to afternoon yesterday. It was a cooler morning, and it feels like a closer, more humid air. We just wonder how that will develop across the whole day here, but everything set fair, should have dry conditions. That's the mountain of Montseny up at the top there, favourite day tripping hike for Barcelona people. And to the right, Costa Brava, beautiful part of Spain, and you can already see the pelouse here, as they call it, the lawn that surrounds certain parts of the racetrack, particularly around, you can see around turn 5 and 6, they have a nice sector. There's another one up around turn 9, another one on the outside of turn 3 as well, all filling up this morning as we get ready for what promises to be, Neil, a really good race day. We said we weren't expecting so much in Balloton Park, and we got a good race day, so maybe we shouldn't hype it up too much. But, you know, there's lots for us in store today, and one of those is that Marc Marquez still believes, despite winning his 15th racing event in a row, that he doesn't start favourite.
No, and he doesn't. He doesn't quite have the race pace of his brother. Alex has been the fastest all weekend. He should have really won the race. He was pulling away from his brother. He was stretching the lead. He just got the lead up to round about 1.5 seconds with, was it 4 laps to go? Or 3.5 laps to go. And unfortunately pushed that little bit too hard, made that mistake, crashed at turn 10, and really handed another victory to Marc Marquez, who doesn't seem like he can lose at the moment. It really doesn't. Everything seems to be falling in his lap. Obviously, a lot of that is down to him, but that was definitely a lucky one yesterday. He'll take it. He didn't seem that excited when he won the race. I think he felt pretty disappointed for his brother.
Yes, and Alex himself said it was all down to confidence, and Mark's brimming with it. He's not coming up the finest of moments, but that actually in this moment felt better than ever before. Yeah,
he said he felt really comfortable. He said on that lap he was a fraction hot into the corner, but because he couldn't feel the limit, or he didn't feel like he was on the limit, and certainly not over it, he thought he could just get the bike stopped, pull the bike up a little bit quicker, and that a little bit of extra brake pressure with that lean angle just folded the front. We've seen a lot of people do that this weekend on this slippy track.
And I was going to say, that race yesterday, the sprint, showed just how much of a fine line they are treading, and I'm not just talking about Alex's crash there, I'm talking about Frankie Morbidelli's or Fermin Aldeguer's, or, you know, a couple of the incidents with Pedro Acosta and Enea Bastianini, treading such fine margins.
Yeah, I mean, the racing line's pretty small round here, and we know this track's a low grip track, and when you try and make a pass, when you dive up the inside of someone, you have to brake a little bit later to get alongside them, so you are carrying more corner speed, you are on the dirtier part of the track, and it's a low grip track, so it just seems to, it makes it almost impossible to get the bike stopped. It makes every pass a much greater risk than you would normally see, and hence we saw a couple of crashes with Morbidelli taking out Martin and Fermin Aldeguer taking out Marco Bezzecchi. They weren't crazy moves, to be honest, but actually certainly when we saw Aldeguer's, you sort of held your breath, and you thought, oh, that's going to be difficult, and then he went down. So
we've seen it before.
We've seen it before on that at turn 5. So yeah, difficult conditions for all the riders. It sort of makes the start really important, as always, in MotoGP.
You see what I mean about just looking on board here with Pecco Bagnaia? I don't almost want to go near Pecco Bagnaia and talk about it, but it's a bit hazy overhead, isn't it? A few, like narrow, a thin layer of cloud over the top.
It will affect track temperature, won't it?
It will, and that definitely changed from morning to afternoon. That a lot of the riders saying actually it felt so different because of the sun beating down. The morning was a little bit cooler yesterday. It's another factor, isn't it, that will come into play today.
But it's always, like I say, I've already mentioned it 2 or 3 times, it's a low grip track. when you get into the afternoon, you lose even more grip when the track temperature gets over. At this place, if the track temperature gets over 40 degrees, it goes greasy. Normally it's around about 50 degrees where it's a tipping point track temperature wise for it to go greasy. But this place is it's slick, to say the least. So I think the riders will be pleased. There's a little bit of cloud cover.
How does it change things as Pedro Acosta Senior and Danny Pedrosa just having a conversation down in the KTM garage? It was a decent day for Acosta. He said though, and this is one of the challenges, he had a lap where he was so competitive at the start, wasn't he? But pushing on that lap, battling with Fabio Quartararo and Marc Marquez, well, he sort of intimated that he had a tyre drop, but that it changed basically the feeling on the motorcycle really rapidly. And he did drop back quite quickly, didn't he, into the clutches of Bastianini and Binder. Then they all sort of had similar levels. He came out on top in that little scrap. But it shows actually, if you are not careful for one lap alone, you can then cost yourself for the rest of the race.
Yeah, it's a really unique track, this place. Somewhat very long corners, a lot of right-hand corners. You spend a lot of time on the side of the tyre. And the reality is, all the riders know that you have to save your tyre. You have to be quite gentle when you're accelerating out of the corners. Otherwise, because it's low grip, it starts to spin early. Once it starts spinning, it doesn't stop, essentially. So the problem is when you're in a battle, in an early lap, of course you're attacking, and I think that's what Pedro did. He was fighting hard on that opening lap, or opening 2 laps. And
well, it was coming out the final corner, wasn't it, that he and Marc Marquez blasted past Fabio Quartararo. Now Quartararo was much more gentle because he has to feed it in differently on the Yamaha. Frankie Morbidelli's tried to do the long lap loop. I wonder if he's got that wrong.
I think he could be right there, Gav. He's got a penalty. Yeah, we're going to see it now. So he's going to practice it, and he's going to go in too hard. It's a fine line. We talked about it on the way in. Fermin Aldeguer has a long lap penalty today. He had one last year in the Moto2 race, and if you remember, crashed whilst during the race when he took his long lap penalty. It's a dirtier part of the track, obviously, that little long lap loop.
That's the thing.
Lap loop.
You're coming from, in the MotoGP case, you took 220 miles per hour, but you're on a dirty part of the
narrow,
track.
Dirty, and down to 30 miles an hour through there on probably the slowest point because it's so narrow. It's really tricky to judge, as we just witnessed.
That's why he's practicing it now. Obviously, we'll have one stake in the race, as will Fermin Aldeguer. For both of them, it's a second offence penalty, and now it's a stipulation, isn't it, basically? If you crash and you take a rider out, you will, cop a penalty.
Yeah, and it's a grey area. We talked about it again in the car this morning driving in. It's like, look, it doesn't really encourage passers if you think, oh, I might get a penalty, but no one thinks they're going to crash anyway when they're making a pass. You don't think you're going to crash, so I think it's a fair rule, because if you're minding your own business, you're having a really good race, and someone dives up the inside, loses the front, and takes you out, you want that person to receive a penalty. I know they've already essentially penalised themselves because they've gone down, but I think otherwise, and even more so now when you watch the junior classes, especially Moto3, it's really aggressive. I feel like we're always just trying to throw a little bit of cold water over the Moto3 race because it's at boiling point, and there's some very, very aggressive moves. And the last thing any of us want to see, we love to see great racing, we just don't want to see young riders getting injured.
Or bringing that forward as the MO, the way that you race.
Yeah, exactly. You've got to smash your way through people.
Brad Binder had a good ride, didn't he, yesterday? Had a problem with his first bike in qualifying, and that's where it's all gone wrong. Qualifies down on the 4th row, and suddenly it's a different story. But he's had pace all weekend as Binder. The interesting thing for me today is going to be they're going to have to go with the medium tyre.
Yeah.
How does that change things? We know, basically, Alex and Mark were good on the medium tyre on Friday.
Yeah, it's sort of bad news for the rest of the paddock, because that is what we witnessed on Friday. These two on the screen right now, they didn't go anywhere near the soft. They worked all day Friday for today's race, probably sacrificing a little bit for yesterday.
Whereas the KTMs, I remember speaking to Pedro Acosta on Friday night, didn't touch the medium. They were, come on, let's sort Saturdays out, because that's a big part of it. Jack Miller's got that wrong there. just being dragged down. We've seen it so many times. Pecco Bagnaия's witnessed it firsthand when he was collected by Taka Nakagami on a start of a race down there. It really sucks you in, this first corner, and you get in the turbulent areas. It felt like Jack did there, and you have to abort, and then you are on a dirty part of the racetrack.
Well, you said it, it's 220 miles an hour plus. It's 223 miles an hour, I think, it's the top speed record, and they're there or thereabouts at the moment. So you get in a little bit of slipstream, and then in the dirty air, they call it, there's that much air on these bikes now. In that braking zone, there's a lot of dirty air, there's a lot of buffeting. You can get pulled right into this corner. It's downhill, it's a little bit off camber, it's very, very technical.
Pecco Bagnaia is topping the timesheets. I actually do think he will have a better day today because of the medium tyre and because how we know how good he is on tyre life. But the problem for Bagnaia is where he's starting, which is way down the order, 7th grid. His race is run already. Yeah, but he probably will come through.
Yeah, I think he will. It's tricky when you've lost some confidence. I've been there. I know exactly what it feels like when you've lost a bit of confidence. You've qualified bad. Obviously, you are underperforming. The team expects more. Imagine if you Pecco Bagnaia, the world expects more, to be honest. And then you have to try and thread your way through a field of really aggressive MotoGP riders. There's not one rider that's easy to pass. There are no slow riders in MotoGP, so yeah, it'll be a tough day for him. Let's hope he can get a good result, get a little bit of confidence, feeling a direction with that bike, because in a few days' time we're going to be at his home race in Misano.
It will be a different day. Fabio Quartararo had a brilliant day yesterday. I could not tell you, sat here right now, whether it would be another good day for Quartararo or whether it was the soft tyre and the way things are working during that practice that, through the sprint race, where he could match the pace, could do his own pace. Will the medium tyre drop him back into the clutches? Are there others? You feel like Aprilia will have a little bit more on race day. You feel like, a couple of other people might have better race days than they had in the sprint, and so we'll just have to wait and see what happens. But there's a few unknowns. Yeah,
definitely. It's funny, you said you're not too sure how it's going to affect Fabio. Neither is he, actually. His words after yesterday was he's not too sure what the medium will feel like. He also said it's sometimes the track feels different after the Moto2 race, for example, and these are the things that we watch, obviously we commentate, but the feeling you get as a rider, and certainly we know what it's like that inline 4, the Yamaha, they have to carry corner speed, they have to rely on the bike naturally turning. That's how he sort of achieves his lap times. If the grip level changes drastically when you then go out straight after the Moto2 race and the track feels just different because of the Pirelli rubber that's been laid down, it's not an excuse, it's a reality that it affects some people more than others, or some manufacturers more than others.
It's when you earn your corner. You think on your feet. You then work through the problems that you're given in the race, and that's where the best riders can do that and will come out on top. Thank goodness Marco Bezzecchi's okay. He didn't speak to the media last night. He was in hospital undergoing lots of checks on his forearm in particular, but thankfully looks like he's okay. Goes fastest this morning, a really good lap time, that actually, a 1:38.8 here in this warm-up session. I do feel like it'll be different stories today, but we'll still get an interesting race. And again, I would still say Alex is your favourite, but I also think with the medium tyre in a longer race, Mark will be stronger than he gave up yesterday. He admitted, I gave up. He's shown this year to be able to rein in his tendencies early on in the race, to show that in the latter stages there is no one better on used rubber than him. Yeah, and I think because Mark's super clever, as we know, he knows that he has to get the start. He didn't get a great start yesterday. If he can park himself in front of his brother, he'll make himself hard to pass. He'll hope the tyres wear down, and then they start to move up. The bike starts to move around a little bit more, and he'll use his skill to somehow beat his brother and win again. I'm sitting here though. I said it yesterday. I thought Mark was favourite for the race. I thought he was going to just find something. As it turned out, he was lucky that he won. But today, I think Alex Marquez definitely starts as favourite. Tell you what's going to be really interesting as the checker flag comes out. I cannot wait for the Moto3 race. You look at how qualifying's been.
There's so many fast, aggressive Spanish riders. This is one of the best tracks in the world for Moto3 racers because of that long straight. In the past, we've seen some absolute classics, like we do at Mugello, like we do at Assen. I cannot wait for that. And the Moto2 races are interesting because it's a bit of an upside-down grid, and what I mean by that is the championship sort of top 3 are sort of 3rd and 4th row, aren't they? They're well back, so I think some riders from the front will be coming back. Some of the, obviously, Gonzalez's, Moreira's and Canets will be going forward. That, on paper, looks like it's going to be a cracker as well.
Yeah, a reminder, Moto3 race just before 10 AM UK time, Moto2 an hour later. It's after 11 AM, and we've got all the build-up to MotoGP from 12:30 as Fabio Quartararo takes a run through the gravel this morning. Tom, his mate, his manager, pal, confidant, a little wry smile there. He just outbreaks himself. I thought he was excellent yesterday. I thought he showed his true colours again.
Sort of the rider of the race, and I don't know if we talked about him enough in a way, because there were things going on around him. It looked like he was going to drop back early on. We all assumed he was going to drop back, and he just showed his sheer brilliance of why he's paid probably, I think he's the highest paid MotoGP rider right now. Because when someone's overriding their package, which that's what he does week in, week out, I mean, it was just an incredible ride. Incredible. It was only 1.2 seconds off the win.